Welcome back to A Toda Madre. It's your boy Rod. Let's,
With Will, you already know.
William. I saw your video on TikTok. You saying I didn't watch the game. I was doing the wannabe Monster Jam, Monster Trucks, which was pretty fun. I'll probably give you guys a separate video on my own reviewing that. But you kept saying that the Blue Jays choked the game. That it wasn't that the Dodgers won it. It's just that Blue Jays fucked up on that. Explain why do you believe that for those who did not watch the video, even though your TikTok video went 2K. And like I told you, you said, speak about the Angels, I don't give views. Speak about the Dodgers, I got 2K. Well, one's a double champion, the other one hasn't made playoffs in 10 years. LA's a bigger market than Anaheim. Um, would that have been the same story 20 years ago when the Angels were high and the Dodgers were low? Who knows? All I know is that LA and New York will always be a bigger market.
I mean, I think it's just a hot topic right now to talk about is obviously the World Series. It was just ending. And I'm pretty sure that's the reason why it's trending the way that it's trending, 2000 and some K views, But yeah, when it came down to it, I addressed it in the video. The Blue Jays had two games in which they could have ended the series. Game 6, bottom of the ninth. They choked it out. It was when that ball got stuck in the bottom. Which was it really stuck though? Was it? Nah, it wasn't. But they gave them the way to the Dodgers, and they said it was. I forgot what the word that I'm looking for. So it's you can't touch it because it's out of play technically, sort of.
Yes.
So it's like. It wasn't. It is what it is. I mean, obviously, when they cut the camera off, and then eventually you just see the player just throw the ball back in. I'm like, okay, so you were able to grab it, So if you were able to grab it, then it's playable. The ball is playable because that rule exists for perfect example Wrigley Field. You have the ivy on the wall. The ball gets stuck in the ivy. It's inside the ivy. You're not gonna be searching for the ball. It's all right. It's out of bounds. Ground rule double. Bounces it bounces in and then bounces out. Then at that point, it's ground rule double, But in this instance, it's like, bro, like you could go ahead and just reach for it. It's not stuck. You didn't even attempt it. Like with that rule, to me, it's hey, there has to be an attempt on the ball for it to be considered. Hey, it's stuck or not stuck. That Mets video that you sent me, which is the exact same thing where the ball is like stuck at the bottom. And then you see the ump go over and just like, knock it a little bit. And it's like, well, there you go. Like, play it. It's playable. The ball was playable. It just didn't happen. Regardless, after that, it was runners on second and third, 1 out, and they did absolutely nothing. Obviously, the runner on second got caught on that double play, which had it not been like those places were like, bro, you can't get caught in those plays. You have George Springer coming to bat. It's like George Springer has an MVP, World Series MVP back in 2017 when they beat the Dodgers. So it's like you can't have that terrible base running on this big stage when you have a bat like that about to come up. So that was Game 6. Game 6 could have been won easily. It could have been Blue Jays right there, game over, series over. A single by George Springer would have finished off the game and the series. You move into Game 7, and the example I was talking about on my TikTok was bottom of the ninth. At this point, you already blew a 4-2 lead. You bring in Trey Savage. He gets 3 outs but allows 1 home run. So it's 4-3. Hey, you might as well keep him in. Might as well keep Trey Savage in because at this point, if we know he could dominate the Dodgers, but you use him for 3 outs and then you pull him and then you bring Hoffman in. Don't get me wrong, Hoffman's a great pitcher, but it's like you're gonna use a closer for a 4-out inning, which because he's gonna finish off the 8th and then 9th, all 3 from the 9th. But it's like you might as well hold him until the 9th at least and have Trey Savage finish off that inning and just let him continue for that matter. If I was the manager for the Blue Jays, I wouldn't even have used this Savage until the 9th inning. Had him close out the game. I would have had Hoffman come in earlier, take the 8th, Savage take the 9th. And then from there, if you go into extras, well, hey, shit, you're staying out there, But so at this point, he allows a home run. It's 4-3. Then the top of the 9th comes in. Miguel Rojas hits Miguel Rojas, who by the way has not had a hit in a month, who has not played a role in the World Series except for Game 6, who got that double play, caught that double play ball, and then Game 7, who basically had the home run to tie the game. You know, then you go into the bottom of the ninth, you lead off the bottom of the ninth, Vladdy Guerrero hits one to the warning track, almost went out of the park, but it went to a warning track. That would have been the game-winning run. You know, then you have bases loaded after that. They end up doing, I believe it was where Andy Pages and Kike Hernandez crashed in the outfield, but obviously Pages kept the ball on the mitt. That ended that inning. They go into extras from there. But what I was saying before that ball, actually, it was a ground out by, I don't remember who did the ground out. However, you have Falefa, and this is why, I mean, he was a Yankee, but this is why the Yankees let him go. I mean, based on all my videos that I watched from the Yankees with a few YouTubers that I used to watch and follow, Falefa has been terrible all his career, you know? So it's like, you're looking at the play, there's one out, bases loaded. They ground out, and obviously Rojas was the one that threw home, you know? So if Falefa has a bigger lead on that bigger secondary lead, because the bases are loaded, so you really can't, there's really nothing else you could do but run home. If it's a ground out, you can't stay on base because the person on second is running to third, the person from first is running to second, the person, you know, so you can't go back. You're gonna have to run home no matter what, unless if it's a pop-up, you know. Yeah. So that's exactly what happened. Bases were loaded. Falefa here's the base, and Falefa's like right here, you know. They hit the ball, he runs, and he gets caught out at home plate. It's like it doesn't have to be a tag. It has to be, as long as the foot, since it's just a force play, the foot could be on the leg. If it was a tag, different story. They have to tag him, whole different story. But it's a force play, you know. So at this point, he was out by a matter of inches, if anything, maybe 6 inches most. You know, if you have 2 more feet, like 2 more steps over, when that ball hits, at that point you're scoring that damn run. You're winning the entire World Series right then and there. It didn't happen.
I would say this: the second, like when you watch it, I was watching a replay, right? There's you're looking at it from the center field, but from the opposite side. So you're like at home base, but at the very top. So someone's recording, and you see that the guy who's on second base has more of a lead than the guy on third. I'm like, and then when I saw that, I was like, how come he didn't, like, just 1 foot over? 1 foot over gets you there. But I also read reports that I think it was a coach. I'm not sure if it was a third baseman coach that said to not have a big lead because they were afraid that fool was going to swing, and that if he hit the ball towards the left, they didn't want to catch that guy out and have like a double play.
But regardless, at that point, I mean, yes, could be possible, but at the same time, it's like, yo, you're playing. And like I told you, I texted you when this happened. Who got on base first? It was Bo Bichette. He got on base first, and they pulled him. And I texted you. Obviously, you were at the monster truck event, whatever. I texted you saying they fucked up by taking Bichette out, because if this shit goes into extras, you're officially fucked by replacing Bichette out with Falefa. Like, you just screwed yourself over, you know, because you're losing the pat of, by the way, Bichette was the one that hit a 3-run home run to take the lead at the beginning of the game, you know, third inning, whatever. So it's like, you're taking away that power back. You're taking away that clutch hitter in exchange for this guy. Yes, I get it. He's faster, Falefa, and Bichette is injured, like coming back from injury. So I understand that aspect. Like, there was instances where Bichette could have scored on a run, but it didn't happen because of his injury. He couldn't run fast, so he had to be stuck at third. You know, so I understand why they did it. Regardless, it didn't play out that way. So in that instance, like, hey, you know, don't get too much of a lead because it could be, you know, a double play. Yeah, potentially, but at the same time, it's like, hey, you're playing for the game here. The game's on the line. You're either going into extras or you're ending it now. You know,
and that's where I also disagreed with what A-Rod was saying. Para empezar, I don't fucking like A-Rod at all. So anything he says, I always tell him, shut the fuck up, right? Like, I don't like you in TV. Get off my TV. But anyways, he basically said that the fool that was in second, that he shouldn't have been caught this late stage in the World Series. Like, You're a professional. You shouldn't have that much of a big lead, and that's why you got on a double play. That should have never happened. But it's like how David Big Papi says, it's the World Series. You're gonna try to do everything possible to score, and that's where I'm like, yeah, I'm like, it's the World Series. Let's say he wasn't experienced enough, and that's why he had a big lead. But the whole point is that they want to score. They don't have a guy on third anymore, if I recall, because was
Well,
it?
that was game 6, and you had second and third. That yeah.
Yes. Y so cuando empiezo a mirar yo todo from the highlights that I saw in the 6, because I also didn't watch game 6, and the highlights that I saw in game 7, I was like, I only see 2 mistakes. I'm like, which was the third runner, who could have been 1 foot over, and the coaches told them, don't have a foot over because we don't want to be caught on that. And then they did a statistics that batter the whole year, when he swung and the ball went left, was 2 times. That means that if you would have swung, the chances of you getting a left shot was very low for them to say don't get a big head start. So where I can say management choked them there, they fucked up there, right? That's one. Now let's go to game 6 with the stuck ball. When I see that Mets thing where they use the finger, like they should make a rule or they can challenge that stuck ball from now on, because it does look bad where and other, like, okay, por decirlo, in soccer, el VAR. Like, oh, all of a sudden VAR works for this team, but it doesn't work for this team. VAR works over here, but or an NFL with the tush push, that the Philly the brotherly push from the Eagles. That's, they don't get called on flags, but other teams, when they try it, they called out on flags. So like they have to really narrow it down to make sure that it works. Y como se llama, for that, they should make that a rule, because I'm like, it's not fair for that game that I showed you that the umpire goes there and he just basically shoves the ball out. And yes, would that game 6 would have sucked if it ended like that? Oh well, they challenged the play and they moved it with one. Like, let's say they should make a rule: if the ref, the umpires, can stick one finger and push it out without force, it's an they should allow the play. Because they didn't use force. Using two is stronger than one. And let's try the pinky. No, fuck it. Let's go with the pinky. If they can pull it out with the pinky, that means that the ball was not stuck.
I mean, it's one knows when it's forced and when it's not. Like you'll know if it's, hey, I moved it like this. I didn't even have to put much force into it. And then when you're having to this actually logic, whole different story.
And I've always noticed when something is stuck, even sometimes 2 fingers, you'll have a hard time where you're using strength.
Right.
I'm like, and if you're doing this and you're catching, like if you're pulling, that is force. But it's like, that's what I'm saying. Like, they should make a rule for the umpire where you could just use 2 fingers and pull it out. Like, if you can't get it out like that, hey, it's a stuck ball. Second, what's it called?
Ground rule double, yeah. So that's understandable, and I agree on that point. But again, it's like there was no attempt on the ball, and it's like it's dumb to me. That would have been a double. Yeah, 1 run scores for sure. 1 is partly on third, but you still have 1 out. You don't have, so at that point, it's like, hey, a sack fly. Guess what? That ends the game officially over. World Series champions. It's that simple. Obviously, it didn't happen that way. It went towards, and I would say towards the Dodgers side in this case, because at the same time, you're taking a risk by not going for that ball. If the umps don't want to call that, they don't call it, and you just allowed basically 2 runners and 1 on third, because the runner was going to end up being on third, because they're not going to call it. It's up to the umps to call it. So they took a risk, a gamble. And they paid off for the Dodgers, and then eventually, I mean, they're champions.
I kept flip-flopping the whole series, right? I said that the Blue Jays were going to lose in 5, right? A gentleman's sweep. And then the game 4 happens where they win. Then the game 5, they win again. And then I said to myself, this is going 7 where Toronto takes it. I remember when you were talking to me, the reason I wasn't texting back, because yes, I was at the show. However, I had the 9th inning or the 8th inning on my phone. So I was watching it, because at the same time, it was when there was an intermission. So there was a break for the drivers, for the motorcycle drivers and the monster truck drivers. So at that time, I was watching 8th and 9th inning. As soon as the game, the 10th and 11th, I kind of missed on those because the show started again. So I put my phone out, and the guy in front of me had the game on. So I was kind of peeking and looking at the same time. And what's it called? But that's when I texted you. When I heard that it was extra innings, that's when I told you. I was like, Dodgers won. I'm like, that's it. Like, forget about it, William. Like, Dodgers won. Like, as much as I wanted to hate saying those words. Dodgers won. I'm like, yeah, they're taking it. It's just for me, the amount of stars that you have, it shouldn't have gone Game 7.
No,
Yeah.
so with yeah, that's okay. So I mean, a lot of people. I mean, you obviously ruled them out in 5. A lot of people were saying they were gonna get swept. A lot of people counted them out with the whole Yankee series, and then counted out. I mean, even myself, I counted them out in the Mariners series, thinking the Mariners were gonna take it. So everybody was always counting out the Blue Jays. Now, don't get me wrong, the Blue Jays don't have a small payroll, and their payroll is top 5. I believe top 5 or top 6. So they also have one of the higher payrolls, you know. But at the end of the day, it's like you're mentioning, is like this series shouldn't have never gone 7. You know, with the amount of great players that you have, stars that you have, all stars that you have, you know, MVPs that you have 3 MVPs on the lineup. You know, Freddie Freeman,
repeating champions, also repeating champions.
You know, so like, yeah, you have. I mean, with this, Mookie Betts has 4, Freeman has 3, Ohtani has 2. And you know, there's a Will Smith has 3. You know, so regardless, there's a few out there. So at some point, so with
Will Smith has 6.
Well, no, he has 6, but he has 3. It's not. So I don't know if you know this or not, but it's 2 different Will Smiths.
Also, Will Smith.
Huh?
So it's the actor and Will Smith.
No. There's a pitcher whose name is Will Smith, and there's a catcher whose name is Will Smith.
Okay.
You know, so the catcher won it in 17. The pitcher won it in 18. No. The pitcher, something like that. But regardless, it's been 6 years, a 6-year stretch of Will Smith winning them. You know, but one of them was a pitcher and one of them was a catcher.
You know, they should get Will Smith to play a live action movie of them, a documentary, like a biography movie. You know, it makes sense. Will Smith.
I mean, I saw a tweet or whatever, X, whatever it's called, that said, what a comeback story. Will Smith went from being canceled for slapping Chris Rock on the Oscars to being a World Series champion.
I think that's why it's a meme, and they're saying I didn't know it was that there is 2 Will Smiths.
Yeah, there's actually 2 Will Smiths. Yeah.
And when people kept saying it's 2 Will Smiths, I'm like, well, yeah, Will Smith, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and this fucking guy. So yeah, but see, even though you say that his ass Kershaw would have también 3 rings. He has
3 rings. Yes,
3 rings. This would be Yamamoto's first ring, and I don't even know if he had a ring over there in Japan.
Well, no, but I don't remember if Yamamoto got signed this season or last. I think he got signed last season.
Oh, he wasn't in this season.
I think so, because he's not even a Rookie of the Year candidate. So that tells me he got signed last season. I could be wrong, but I did see like a post that said, again, I'm not a Dodgers fan, so I don't really follow Dodgers stuff.
Look at
but I really don't know Yamamoto ring.
Yeah, give me a minute. I'm checking it out right now. So, oh yeah, you're right. 2024.
So that's 2 rings, right?
He only played 18 games. So yeah, that's going to be his 2nd ring. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a 2nd ring already. You know, so you
can say that this is his come out year.
Breakout.
For Yamamoto, this would be his breakout season.
Breakout year.
Yeah, breakout year.
You could say that. I mean, he had a good season last season too, but he just did. He went above and beyond. Without him, the Blue Jays would have won. It's that simple. Without Yamamoto, Blue Jays take the entire series, maybe in 5.
Now I'm gonna ask you a question. I don't want you to become very biased or hater, because we are both of us Angels fans, and we might not want to admit it. But do you think Ohtani showed up in the playoffs for both times?
Not last season. No.
Not last season, right?
You mean World Series or playoffs?
Both.
Not last season. This season, I could say he still didn't. I mean, he had 2 good games.
Against the Brewers, not like in.
No, that's not point. No. So he had 1 good game against the Blue Jays, which is Game 1, I believe.
Yes.
Or game. I don't remember. One of the games.
Game 2 where they won.
Okay, so or maybe Game 3. I think it was Game 3 where they walked him the 5 times because he was doing that good.
That too. Okay, so Game 2 where I think he did a homer on Game 2 because that's where they
hit 2 home runs in Game 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what happened. Yeah. So he had a good game against Brewers and a good game against Blue Jays. So I think that's all he did. So did he show up? He's not. He didn't. He's not Otani. It's that simple. What I wanted to say. What I want to say is he might be another Kershaw when it comes to pitching, because the 2 outings that he had against the Blue Jays, both outings he got knocked out immediately.
Yes.
And in this game 7, he only went 2 innings and a half, or 2 innings and one and a third. I think maybe 3 innings. But he didn't do anything.
And honestly, they should in a way, I didn't know about this until you told me, but they should bring back that rule, the NL AL, and I think that you're right. They probably just switched it up, where the pitcher you can be a DH, right? Because I'm like, in that game 7, if they take out Otani as a pitcher, he can't hit no more. You're not switching positions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, you're out. You're out of the game, because that's the advantage of having pitchers that know how to hit and having a designated hitter. Like, you don't have to worry about it. Obviously, in this particular case, in Game 7, I'm pretty sure they would have never used Otani as a pitcher, because the way that I read it, or the way that I was kind of picturing it, I'm like, they really wanted Otani as the MVP. That's why they put him as a pitcher, so that he can be the savior of the Dodgers and get an MVP. But that's not.
If you think about it this way, say you have that old rule, AL, NL. You play in an NL park. There's no DH. So you have it that way. You have Otani in there for 3 innings. You're already losing 3-0. If you don't pull him, because you don't want to lose his bat, how many more runs are going to score on Otani?
Exactly.
That's that simple. Now, obviously, are they ever going to bring that rule back? No, they're not, because they changed it for Otani, and I'm pretty sure now it's like, okay, we'll be able to have more 2-way players.
Yeah, and this also helps out in the World Series, because now they can use badass pitchers, keep your strong hitters and all that. But it does suck of the advantage, like, let's say in Game 7, since it was at Blue Jays, we're playing with a designated hitter, meaning that if you want, intentionally walk Otani every single time, that way he never hits it, and we don't have to see him as a pitcher, even though he didn't really show up as a pitcher in the World Series. So in a way, like, it didn't matter, but we didn't know that it was going to matter or not, because Otani is a great pitcher, and what he did all season, you're like, damn, like, fuck. It's like how we were when I asked you that question, Barry Bonds or Otani. He's like, yeah, but Otani's a great pitcher. So that's going to make under me versus Barry Bonds. That's just a hitter. I understand what you're saying, but I'm like, like, ¿cómo se llama? He didn't show up, so technically, they might say that he has 2 rings. I'm like, and I'll still take Barry Bonds in the World Series, bases loaded, over Otani.
I mean, he has 2 rings, but he didn't. Who won it for him last season?
Freeman.
And who won it for him this season? So it's like, this season it was really Yamamoto. But I mean, Kike Hernandez said it himself while he was celebrating in the middle of the field. He was just like, he told Freddie Freeman, "We ain't do shit, and we got a ring." Like they were screaming at each other, all happy, saying, "We ain't do shit," because they didn't do shit. It's that simple. They know they ain't perform. Nobody did except for Yamamoto, and then they got a lucky home run here, lucky home run there.
Well, I wouldn't call it luck. I mean, I would say the guy that hit that, what's it called, the homer on the 7th game. ¿Cómo se llama esta awesome? The last one that he scored?
Rojas?
Yeah. I would say, was that one more luck? I think he was just swinging for the fences, and if it landed, it landed,
According to him, he wasn't even swinging for the fences. Now, from my knowledge with baseball, from people that I know that play baseball, you don't ever want to swing for the fences. You always just swing the bat for contact, and if you're lucky, it goes out of the park. Because you did good contact. Now, yeah, sometimes you will swing for the fences, but that's just to try to get a home run no matter what. But then your contact is 0 because you're all over the place. Yeah. When you're hitting, it should come as of, hey, I got a home run, cool. So that's what according to him, Rojas, he was just swinging the bat to try to get on base and ended up going out of the park.
Yeah, which makes more sense. I'm just trying to get in base.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get in base, y ojalá, and it stuck, and he took it out of the ballpark. ¿Cómo se llama? I'm trying to think of something the baseball. Do you think Dodgers 3-peat? The way that they look, the way that they're going to be signing people.
We got to see this offseason, and then we'll talk about it. We can't make
assumptions what you're saying right now is this crew does not make it 3.
I can't answer that question because this crew could, but I got to see what other acquisitions other teams make. Let's say the Blue Jays.
So it's not just about the Dodgers. You're talking about overall.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
let's say the Blue Jays want to get stronger. Hey, let me go sign Kyle Tucker. There you go. Now at this point, you just added another clutch hitter, another power bat. Who, by the way, Kyle Tucker is a fucking stud, like a stud. You know, so it's like you just add on to your more depth to your lineup. You know, it's like, hey, let me go ahead and take one out of the Dodgers playbook and go ahead and spend all the money that I want and defer every single contract that I get. You know, now let's talk Angels. Angels, hey, let's go ahead and sign this pitcher, and just put them all on deferral contracts. You know.
Let's be honest. That's if the player wants to accept that.
That too, yeah. Obviously that too.
For instance, like let's say Neto. Let's talk about Neto. If you want to do that to Neto doesn't have sponsors. So if you're gonna only give him like $2 million a year, let's say they tell you know what, we're gonna give you $100 million in deferred. We're gonna pay you 10 years after you retire, whatever. Right? Let's just put it at that aspect. So for the time being, we're only going to pay you $2 million for the next 7 years, and then everything else we'll pay you afterwards. And let's say he doesn't have freaking sponsorship. He doesn't have none of that. Right. So you think he's going to want to live? Well, I would say I can live off $2 million a year
because we're used to a certain,
us the regular Joes, and I'll say a lot of regular Joes, if they start getting $2 million, it won't be enough because they're gonna start spending a lo pendejo. That's why when people win the Super Lotto, they don't stay rich because they make stupid decisions. Bien dice el dicho, Dios no le da el dinero al pobre porque el pobre se lo gasta.
I mean, yeah.
Like I've never read that verse.
It's not in there, but yeah, I mean, it's a saying for a reason. No, I mean, but yeah, obviously that's a solid point. They don't have to agree to that contract. They don't. It's just an assumption like, hey, let's go that way. But no, the Blue Jays are. You add 2 more pieces in there, and they're back in the series. There's no way they don't make it back to the series.
I'll say this: the one that can get a deferred for the Angels should be Mike Trout.
Well, I mean, I'll say this: but he's done. His contract. This is the last contract he's getting. I'm sure once it ends, he's out of baseball.
Oh, so you don't think he's gonna try to go another 5 more years? His contract. When does this contract end? I should ask that.
I believe it ends after 28.
Okay, so
still got 3 more years.
So they can't do nothing with those 3 years left, 2 years left.
I mean, you could restructure it. Will they? I don't know.
That's what I mean. Like they should restructure that and tell Mike Trout, hey, you're on your way out. Haz un paro. Stay with the Angels, but let's get some good pitching staff. He's like, now we have the players to play, but now we need the pitchers to pitch.
Right. I mean, like I mentioned on my other TikTok video, when it comes down to that assumption, but even then, you would have to get mostly everybody to defer the contracts, not just Trout in this case. Because right now, this year in the books that we have is Rendon, who's finally his contract after this year is done. But if I restructure Trout's contract, where he's making $35 million a year, and like, hey, I'll pay you $10 million this year, $10 million next year, and the rest after you retire. But then, just like, even with that, I would still have to convince everybody else that I want to sign to take those deferrals because they're also looking for big paydays.
Yes,
it can't just be I'm only saving $20 million from Trout.
And honestly, when Ohtani did that's because Ohtani has all that fucking Japanese money.
Sponsorship, yeah, the entire Japanese media, it's on him.
Yeah, all that shit. I don't know who else took a defer from the Dodgers. But
everybody from the Dodgers has a deferral. From Freeman to Bez to Ohtani to Blake Snell and I believe Glasnow.
But why is that? Because they're all fucking champions, so they all have those fucking sponsors.
So
imagine if you never have to buy shoes. Well, I mean, right away that's a given, right? You never buy shoes, you never buy gloves, you never fucking buy anything because you're getting sponsored by them. And then when you're doing media coverage because you're in LA and shit, you're getting paid for that. So in a way, you're like, you know what? Let's go get fucking rings.
Basically.
Yeah, kind of Anaheim because no one's a champion. Everybody wants a big fucking check. You're like, I don't know, man. I don't think I can live on $10 million, especially in Orange County, que está caro.
I mean, yeah, LA County is more expensive, but yeah, it's it's that.
You forgot about the sponsorships. It's okay, por decirlo como yo, like I'm gonna take it to boxing, right? A lot of boxers, when they get paid, they always want to get that big paycheck. Pero donde los smaller fighters make their money, it's on sponsors. That's why when you see their shorts, you see stupid shit like OnlyFans, Corona, because they're making their money out of that. They're promoting and they're like, here's 5,000. So let's say for a cheap Venezuelan fighter that's gonna fight on a TV, hey, pues te vale madre, pero mira, sponsor us, you know? Y ya pero tiene some weird ass shit. Y hace out of the shorts alone, they probably got like 20,000, and then for the fight, otros 100,000. So they got paid. That's why a lot of people talk shit on the UFC because the fighters can't do that shit.
Right.
The fighters cannot get sponsorship outside of they cannot show anything, and that's why they tell them is like, hey, you're already paying them shitty, and you don't allow them to fucking get sponsored. And not only that, they are independent contractors, but they have to wear Reebok because it represents UFC. You see the bullshit about that? While on boxing, they're like, you can wear whatever you want in the ring, but we're gonna pay you this. And sometimes they do pay them as much as UFC or more, but they have the free will to do whatever the fuck they want.
Right.
Like a boxing game Undisputed, they paid each fighter to be in there. In UFC, the fighters, you're mandatory to be in there, and you're not getting paid extra because UFC owns UFC brand. They own you as a fighter until you're out, just like the WWE. You know how they can't get sponsorships outside?
Right. Yeah.
AEW.
It's the same thing with baseball. Matter of fact, but the baseball games is they're paying every player a percentage. But that's the reason why Barry Bonds is not in any baseball game, because Barry Bonds is like, yo, I'm way better than all these scrubs, but yeah, I'm gonna get the same cut as them. No thanks, I deserve more. Yes. If you guys don't want to pay me, then don't put me in your game. They ain't pay him. He's not in the game. He's not in any baseball game.
And he's pity because he's not in the Hall of Fame as well. So, which he should be. I don't give a shit about the PEDs. Remove the PEDs time, which is the 2000s. That motherfucker still has a career from the 1990s all the way into the 2000s.
I don't know. I mean, it's baseball is a very racist sport. Let's put it that way. You know, they'll put in who they want to put in. Look at freaking Pete Rose. Like, oh no, we're not gonna induct him because of the gambling. He dies. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and induct him now. You know, like now that he's dead. Really? Come on now. You know. So.